the big new U.S. factory for Tesla, which is called Giga Texas, just by Austin. So those are the two biggest projects. So these necessarily drive the use of my time here. Yeah, and then the other big thing for Tesla right now is the Giga Berlin. So I was in Berlin. I spent a fair bit of time in Berlin working on that. Yeah, I think California is great. So there's a lot of things that are really great about California. Obviously, it's the biggest economy in the country, most number of people. I do think that there is something that happens when, if it's, go back to the sort of sports team analogy, like if a team has been winning for too long, they do tend to get a little complacent, a little entitled, and then they don't win the championship anymore. So California's been winning for a long time. And I think they're taking it for granted. Yeah.
Let's talk a little more on innovation in corporate America in general. I mean, innovation has always been core to who you are. It's how you think about your companies and your role. In the corporate suite in America, are companies in general fostering and developing innovation and for the leaders in corporate America? You've got a lot of them on this call. Do we prioritize innovation as much as we might or need to think right now?
Well, I think there's innovation, but then there's also just our CEOs from corporate America focus enough on product improvement. I think the answer is no. And I think generally my advice or my recommendation would really be spend less time on finance, spend less time in conference rooms, less time on PowerPoint, and more time just trying to make your product as amazing as possible. And
why is that? Is that because boards or shareholders are too finance and return focused and don't think enough about product and being at the heart of value? Is it because a certain kind of the skill is cultivated? Why is that? Why is that a problem in this instance?
I think there might be too many MBAs running a company. There's the MBAization of America, which I think is maybe not that great. There should be more focus on the product, the service itself. Less time on board meetings, less time on financials. The financials come as a result of what's the point of a company at all? Why even have companies? It's like a company is an assembly of people gathered together to create a product or service and deliver that product or service. And sometimes people lose sight of that. A company has no value in and of itself. It only has value to the degree that it is effective allocator of resources to create goods and services that are of greater value than the costly inputs. This thing we call profit is should just mean over time that the value of the output is worth more than the inputs.
And it's a reflection of the quality of the product more than. So if the product is good, presumably the profits follow rather than profits being over. And
yeah, sometimes it's true sort of backwards. And if people are getting sort of the incentive structure is coming from the financial side of things. I don't know. I just earnestly would recommend to anyone listening that just spend less time in meeting rooms, less time on PowerPoint presentations, less time on a spreadsheet, and more time on the factory floor, more time with customers. And obviously a lot of people out there are already doing that, but I just urge people to say, like, hey, step back a second and say, is your product as awesome as it could be? Probably not. What could you do to make it great? If people like to think about innovation, like maybe it has to be like breakthrough innovation. I don't think it necessarily has to be breakthrough innovation. It's just make your product better. This is the thing that really matters.
Is that kind of product mindset that we kind of described? Is that learnable? Is it teachable, or is there an innate element that somebody has to have to really to do it well. I mean, not everybody's innovating and thinking on your scale a lot, but you look for innovative people when you hire them. Is it something that is pretty easily learnable, or is there some innate quality in people that succeed?
I think it is learnable. I mean, step number one would be try. And have you tried? And have you tried hard? And if you haven't tried hard, try hard. I think it is learnable. It's not some mysterious thing. It's just basically just be like an absolute perfectionist about the product that you make, the service that's provided. Seek negative feedback from all quarters. From customers, from people who aren't customers, like, hey, what can we make this? How can we make this better? And I think it's absolutely learnable. And just if you find yourself spending a lot of time in getting presentations and reviewing spreadsheets, you're barking up the wrong tree. That's the effect, not the cause. So just get out there on the factory floor. Get out there in the stores, talk to customers, think about what would you love to have. Oh, and sometimes I think, and I've had this conversation at Tesla a few times, where it's like you're trying to think, okay, we don't love this product, but we think others will love it. No, that's not really how it works. If you don't love it, don't expect others will either.
Now, you're at a moment, I want to talk about your company for a minute, but you're at a moment where particularly Tesla's space actually really growing a lot. And you've had plenty of ups and downs even at this point, but it's a high point. On your own journey in this way, what are the biggest mistakes you've made that you've learned? Because you talked a little bit about being willing to put yourself out there, fail, learn, keep growing. What were turning points for you that really you said, wait a minute, this is wrong, or this is the wrong move either personally or for the company that you weren't from that where you are right now?
Well, if I had to list all the mistakes, this would be a very long poll. So occasionally I might even think of, I'm trying to think like how can I classify them in some way? Well, I mean, some of the things I mentioned just before, it's like where, I was recommending that people spend less time in a conference room, less time getting presentations and spreadsheets, and that, like, generally that's like when I have spent too much time in a conference room, that's generally when things have gone awry. And when I go and spend time on the factory floor, or, really using the cars, thinking about the rockets, it's like that's where things have gone better.
But does that risk? Some people would worry that risks sending a message to your teams that you personally have to be involved. You can't delegate or you can't trust. And I think that's one thing that makes some executives reluctant. They're trying to find that line between showing your personal commitment and trusting your subordinates to do the work. So, I mean, you're known for being passionate for the factory floor, but is that a concern for you, or do you not care? That's not an issue for you, right? How do you think about it?
Well, there's a lot of talented people at SpaceX and Tesla, and I think the morale is good. I for sure respect them greatly, and it's an honor to work with them. And I find that if I am engrossed in the details of the issues, this does not result in them feeling better, but worse, but feeling better. Like they're in my experience, more energized. It's like, think about the war. It's like the general in some ivory tower or on the front line. Like the troops are gonna fight a lot harder if they see the general on the front line than if they think the general's in some cushy situation. So it's like nobody bleeds the prince in the palace. Get out there on the goddamn front line and show them that you care and that you're not just in some plush office somewhere.
Yeah, I'm in my plush office right now. Actually.
Yeah. Well, you write stuff too.
Yeah, well, let's talk quickly about Tesla. Both Tesla and SpaceX are scaling today. In fact, Tesla touched $600 million yesterday valuation. Today, you said you're going to raise $5 billion through stock sales. I assume what those gains are really, in your mind, going to do is help you scale up faster before tax into investment. Now is the moment to do that. Is that the plan here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's, we're kind of debating, like, should we raise money or should we not? It wasn't like a 100% sure thing. In the end, we thought, well, we can retire a lot of the debt and increase the security of the company, probably a good thing. And for less than 1% of dilution, probably makes sense. But we're neither here nor there on that. I think it's could have gone either way.
What is the one for the debt retirement?
Debt retirement and, like, I guess to have a bit more of a war chest. What is money? Money is entry in a database.
Okay, I want to take a couple questions from the audience. First, I want to go to a video question that we solicited. If we could play that.
Hello, my name is Catherine Parsons, and I'm the CEO of technology education company Decoded. I want to know, are machines able to innovate, or is innovation an inherently human capability?
Yeah, I think machines will. Well, my view on AI, I've spoken a lot about this. AI will be able to do everything than human over time, everything.
Everything, including sound. Okay, Elon, here's one. If you could, very quick, easy one. If you could review the entire transportation infrastructure in the United States, how would it work? Michael Fountain asked.
Entire transportation infrastructure. Wow. The main thing I see missing here is that we need to go 3D in cities in order to alleviate traffic congestion, and I think probably the best way to do that is with tunnels. It sounds like so easy.
Boring company that you started with.
Yeah, in fact, for many years I was asked, what do I see as the biggest opportunity for new companies, and I kept saying, can someone please build tunnels? For half a decade I said this, nobody built tunnels. So I was like, fine, we'll start a company and start building some tunnels. And we've got the first tunnel that's going to be opening up, first commercial tunnel that's opening up in Vegas, going from the convention center to the Strip. And I think we'll have an opportunity to try it out and be able to see that, hey, if we just go 3D in cities, we don't have to be stuck in red line. This is great. So I'd recommend tunnels, and then for long distance travel, you can do tunnels or tubes. But if you evacuate the tunnel and essentially remove the air or most of the air, you can get rid of the air friction, and you can go supersonic and do so with no dependence on weather and with no need to get to high altitude or create any sonic boom issues. So that's what I meant by sort of the hyperloop. It's just basically a pressurized electric car in magnitude. So I think this would be a revolution in transport that would be amazing. Hopefully others do it, not just boring companies.
Okay, here's one. Elon, I'm a founder and CEO of a private company in Nevada. One of the changes I'm seeing, people trying to force the company on political and social matters. Making demands not to sell to police, or not to sell to government agencies, or walkouts to protest Google. Do you think this kind of thing is having a chilling effect, or will have a chilling effect on innovation?
Well, a lot of this stuff is centered in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I think the Silicon Valley or the San Francisco Bay Area has too much influence on the world, in my opinion. And I say that as someone who has spent most of his life in California, mostly in the Bay Area.
So you're like your friend Peter Thiel feels it's gotten spicy. You agree with me?
Yeah, I think the Bay Area has outsized influence in the world. So
Is that changing? Is the pandemic changing that? I mean, is there a real chance here that with departures and people leaving the valley that we're going to see some of that scatter out of the country side for good now post-pandemic?
I think we'll see some reduction in the influence of Silicon Valley. But the social media is still very much centered in Silicon Valley. So I think we need to be concerned about mind viruses. Just, memes that travel very quickly through social media that may or may not be correct. And we really want to encourage a healthy dialogue. So there's some out there who just want to shut down one side of a debate or another. I think we should resist that.
We're out of time, unfortunately, because I could go for an hour. We didn't even get to half of the questions I had, but thank you for the time today. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
And hope we can continue the conversation another time.
An enemy has been slain.
There's a smell you can feel. Tell you appreciate detail and craftsmanship. Finally, a customer.
Submit.